Depends on the Avos Sabanim people. That's really what it depends on. Anyway.
Okay, it's recording.
Yeah, okay, I apologize again. We're up to Mishnah Kuf Lamed Amar Aleph, right? Yeah. You hear me clear?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, much easier Mishnah today than yesterday's Mishnah. And it actually comes out a little bit in Yonah D'Yom, not really in Yonah D'Yom, but partially in Yonah D'Yom. Okay, so the Mishnah says, if a guy, somebody who's dying, and he uses Lashon Yerusha, so like we've been discussing, you're not allowed to go against what the Torah says. The Torah has an order for who Yarshin, boys before girls. It's a Bechor, and then regular kids. So you're not allowed to go against it. I'd say here, so we had one example a couple of lot ago of not giving the Bechor. Here it's in the standard. The standard Yerusha. Aimer ish plani Yershani, b'makom sheyesh bas. So if he says this person is going to yarshin me, right? And meaning somebody else, a stranger, but when he has a daughter. Meaning normally the daughter only inherits when the husband is not, when there's no boys. And here there was no boys, so the daughter is supposed to yarshin. This guy, the father, decides he doesn't want to give it to his daughter. Since he doesn't want to give it to his daughter, so he says he's giving it to somebody else. So that's masa mashakos of a Torah. You're not allowed to do that. Right? So again, he's giving it to a stranger over his daughter. Or he says, Bas tirasheni b'makom sheyesh ben. Or he says he wants his daughter to yashin instead of his son. These are common things that come up, but you can't if you use the wrong terminology, then it's no good. So then Lo Yamar Klum, he said nothing, Shisna Mashakasa b'Torah, because he made a Tanai on what's written in the Torah, and that is not allowed. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika says, Im Amar al Misharoi LeYarshay Torah Kayamin. We've had Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika quite a few times, and we said finally this is the source for it. So if he says on somebody who's right to be Irish, so this is an important point. Meaning, let's say there's a bunch of boys, and he likes one boy over the other boy. So according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, he's allowed to decide he wants one boy to have a lot more money than the other boy, and that's not a problem.
So the Torah
Right?
tells us the way to do Yerusha, and we're allowed to do it differently?
Correct, because as long as you're doing the basic of the Hilchos Yerusha, then you could play around with it, and you could add to one over the other, etc., etc.
Somebody says somebody has two daughters, two sons, and the boy's a bechor. He can say, "I want everybody to do it equally before he dies," and that's fine.
No, he can't. No, because he's going against the din of bechor.
But he could say that the second son gets as much as the bechor. Oh, he can't say
And he could do of the leftovers. Yes,
of the leftovers, right? Of the leftovers, he could say that, or he could say that he gets more. Let's say there's 5 sons. He could say that one son gets an extra portion.
Correct. He can. The only I wasn't understand. Not the only thing I don't understand, but what I'm not sure about is, does he have to make sure he gives to that son, or it just has to be right for that son?
The Torah doesn't say that the others have to have an equal portion. They just have to Bechor has to have an extra chaylik. So,
No, but boys,
So-
right? The boys get.
you get
No, but can
Pishnayim,
he take it away from his boy? Can he take it fully away from one son, or as long as he gives a penny, or let's say a pruta, Mustama, it's a pruta. Right? Let's say it's a pruta. And does he have to make sure to at least give? No, the Torah says the boys split the Yerusha. No,
They got to get something, but doesn't mean they have to
right,
get
that's
equal.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, they don't have to get equal. That's what we see that the Chachamim, we're going to see in the Gemara, that whether the Chachamim disagree. The Chachamim certainly disagree with Rabbi Yochanan. The Chachamim seemingly hold you have to give the boys equal. You can't mess with it. Right?
I'm not. The Chachamim say that, or the Chachamim hold that all the boys have to get. You can't take it away from one. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika says that the Torah just says who gets Yerusha. As long as one of those people get Yerusha, he's not Masa Mashikos B'Torah.
What do you mean? Each one of them they're supposed to split the Yerusha, correct?
Yes and no. I mean, the Torah says that who is Yerush. So the sons are Yerush. That's what all the Torah says. It doesn't say how much to give, who to give what. So the sons are Yerush. So as long as a son is being Yerush, that's not Masa Mashikos B'Torah. The Chachamim hold that no, the sons are Yerush. So,
Doesn't the Torah say that the sons are supposed to split the Yerusha?
no, so the Torah just says the sons get Yerusha. The sons are Yerush the father.
But he's knocking out a son. If he doesn't give anything to some of the sons, then isn't he knocking out the Yerusha?
No, because ultimately the sons did get the Yerusha. A son got Yerusha. That's fine. It's not against the Torah.
Yeah. Okay, whatever it is. I'm just like, so, okay, the Olam is saying that, according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, some of the sons don't have to get anything. I wasn't sure if they have to at least get something, and then he could adjust it. Whatever it is, but the Chiddush of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika is as long as they're in the hierarchy of the Yerusha, then it's fine. Meaning, it's boys, you can mess around with the boys and decide you're going to give one boy over the other boy. As long as you keep with the din of Bechor, you keep the din of Yerusha. And the same thing with a girl. Yeah, if there's only girls, you can mess around with the girls and decide who you're giving. But you cannot go against the regular din of Yerusha that it says in the Torah. All right? Okay,
Is,
so Rabbi Yochanan ben
is there a
Broika,
machlekes in the Mishnah? Because the first it doesn't seem to be a machlekes.
so let's see the Gemara. The Gemara is going to discuss whether it's a machlokes or not. The Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, im Amar al mi sharoi liyarshay dvarav kayamin. If he says it on somebody who's right to be yarshin, then his words are makuyim. Al mi she'ein roi liyarshay ein dvarav kayamin. But if it's on somebody who's not right to be yarish, then his words are not kind. Right? Again, what we're saying that he has to make sure he sticks within what do you call it, the confines of Dina from Yerusha, and then he can mess with it. Oh, so now let's see the Gemara, because whether it's a machlokes or not. So time at the acher b'makom bas ubas b'makom ben. The reason why the Tanakama says that it's no good, it's masna mashakos v'torah, because he was giving it to somebody else instead of the daughter, and he was giving it to the daughter instead of the son. But ben habanum ubas ben habanus. But if it's a daughter amongst daughters and a son amongst sons, then his words are makuyim. That's what it's mashma from the. Why does the Mishnah, according to the Tanakama, pick dafka a case of against what's written in the Torah? It's mashma as long as it's within the parameters of what's written in the Torah, then you're okay. Then where it says aim a sefer, if that's the case, and the Tanakama is saying that as long as you're within the parameters of regular Yerusha, you can decide, you can earmark the money for other people. So then, Aim a Sefer, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika says, Im Omar, Al Mi Sharoi Liyar Shotvar Kayamin, Hainu Tanakama, that is the Tanakama. And he said, now there's no difference, like Naftali just said, there's no difference between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika. They seem to be saying the same thing. And if you're going to say Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika fil acher b'makom ba'asu makom ben kamar. And if you say that Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika is saying a chiddush, that even if you go against what's written in the Torah, then you're okay. That can't be. It can't be. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika is not saying such a chiddush that you can go against the Dina Yedusha that it says in the Torah. Right? Tanya, because we learned Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, and Shmuel ben Shmuel when he says,
why can't he say that?
And what's he gonna? Let's see the next line. But the Pasha says he's going against what it says in the Torah.
Well, you set up
Let's see the next line.
Okay.
What?
You set up parameters where he's not being master. When he gives when he gives all the sons $1, he's not being master. So if he gives all the sons approved, who decided what's being master, Mashiach and what's not? Where's that decision?
No, because but it's meaning if he gives to a daughter instead of a son, then that's mamish what it says in the Torah not to do.
So if he doesn't give the Bechor Pishnayim, why is that not master Mashiach of the Torah?
It is. It is. Well,
we said it's not. We said we gave all the sons equally. It's not master Mashiach of the Torah.
No, it's going to well. Let's see the next line in the Gemara. So, because there's a Tanya. Let's see the next line. But Tanya Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika Aimer. Shmuel ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika says, "Like nechtiku av the Chachamim." Says my father and the Chachamim. It's an interesting lashon there. No, how often do we see that my father and the Chachamim? Usually they just quote the name. I think. He's saying, "Lo nechtiku av the Chachamim."
Maybe he was a god, but also Yishmael.
I wonder. No, I'm saying maybe he wasn't in his yeshiva. Meaning, does the son refer to his father as the Rosh Yeshiva, or the Rav, or does he refer to him as my father? I guess it's Chalukei Deis amongst kids of Rosh Yeshiva. But here he's saying my father, right? So he's saying Lo nechtu ba'ava v'chachamim al acher b'makam bas u'bas b'makam ben shelo yomar klum. There's no machloikis that if he's giving it to somebody else instead of the daughter, or the daughter instead of the son, that he said nothing. Haman nechleku al ben habanim ubas ben habanis. Their machlokes is when he's giving it to one son between other sons and a daughter between other daughters. Meaning there you're not going against the Torah because you're giving the Yerusha to a daughter or you're giving the Yerusha to a son. Ja'aba aimer Yirish v'chacham aimer la Yirish. So you see that it has to. So what? Meaning. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika is not going on anything that's written against the Torah. Bechor, Rabban, he doesn't mention anything about Bechor, but I think from the previous Mishnah that he doesn't disagree. He would say the same thing, that you have to give the Bechor, I'm assuming. Right? Whatever it is, so what is the Machlokes? So what's Pshan in the Chachamim then? What is the Pshan in the Chachamim? Right? So, Iba Yasema is a Kamar Loi Nechelku Mechlal the Tanakama Sover Nechelku. So if the one shot is this that Rabbi Shmuel says, why do Rabbi Shmuel have to say my father and the Chachamim are not disagreeing? Why do you have to say that for? That means he was saying it for a reason. Right? Which is the reason must be because others say that they are arguing. Right? Even if the Gomer lay next to the Tanakama Sova, the Tanakama holds that they are arguing. Right? Which means, like Rabban, that you're saying, according to that shot, that means Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika holds you can be Masal Mashal Kosma Torah. Right? According to this shot, you see, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika holds that you can be Masal Mashal Kosma Torah. Shilas, how do you get around that? Not sure how he gets around that. Unless he says that still within, like you're saying, it's still within his parameters of what's Masha Kosa B'Torah is a lot more broad than the other Shita. Than the Chacham. It's one shot, a fighter. Anyway, so the first shot was saying is who says that Rabbi Shmuel ben Yochanan is correct. There's others that disagree. And Iba saying Kulei the Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika. Or we say that the entire Mishnah Rabbi Yochanan Mabroika. The Surah Mechsera, and there's something missing from the Mishnah. Hachi Katani, and this is how you have to say it. If a person says, I want this stranger, this Ish Pliny, to inherit me, where I have where he has a daughter, and he wants a stranger to be yarshin him when he has a daughter. Or my daughter should yarshin me when I have a son. He said nothing. But he has a daughter between daughters and a son between sons. He says that he should yarshin everything. Baruch Hayamin says that those words apply, meaning as long as he's keeping within the parameters of Yerusha, then it's okay. So Rabbi Yochanan says, that if he says it on somebody who is right to Yarshin, his words are Makoyim. So meaning, according to this pshat, there is no machlokes between them, and they both hold that his words work, and there's no machlokes, right? Because that's the way to understand. Yeah.
There's no machlokes, or there's no machlokes in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is over Yochanan and Broika.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yochanan and Broika. Then you have the Mishnah 4 Bladago says not like Rabbi Yochanan and Broika. That's what you're saying, Gershon?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's not. It's meaning there's still a machlokes, just not in this Mishnah. That's all.
So these Yibai Semas are going in opposite directions. The first Yibai Sema says that Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika is more mekel than our Mishnah, and the second Yibai Sema, according to the Tanakama of Reb Shimon Rishmal B'nai Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, and the second Yibai Sema is saying that there is a Tana that argues that this is all Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Right. This Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Halacha Rav Yochanan ben Broika. The halacha is like Rav Yochanan ben Broika, and you're allowed to mess around with the Yerusha. Chen Amar Rabba. Halacha Rav Yochanan ben Broika. Rabba also says the halacha is like Rav Yochanan ben Broika. So Amar Rabba. My time is Rav Yochanan ben Broika. Also, now we get into what's his reason. The Amar Kra. We're 3 lines up from the bottom. Amar Kra. Because it says V'hoya b'yayim hanchilo yasbanov, but it says when he inherits his children. As long as it's within banov, all the Torah says is you give an inheritance to your children. So as long as you're within children, then Torah gave you reshus to do whatever you want, right? So that's the source of Yochanan.
It's particularly ironic. The pasuk that he's quoting is Lo Yuchal Levaker. He can't choose who, but he's learning from this pasuk that he can't choose who.
Well, now what do you mean? We're asking now from Lo Yuchal Levaker. No.
Yeah, but the Havamina is that he's using these words from the same pasuk that says Lo Yuchal Levaker to say that he can. That's the Havamina.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's interesting. Anyways, why can't you learn it from he can't give the Bechor to a different son? It's mashma. What isn't it? It said you're not allowed to give away the Yerusha of the Bechor. The Bechor gets his double. Mashma, that other son's Yerusha, you can give away. Isn't that a source of the pasuk? Right? So the Gemara answers, we violate Tanya, we need that one. This that we learned in the Brisa. Abba Chanan Omar Shum Rabbi Eliezer. Abba Chanan says in him Eliezer, what does it mean in the pasuk we're on the base now? Yuchal Levaker. What does Lu Yichalavaka tell us? If you should never because it says that on when you would the day that you will give inheritance to your children, Sheyachol, you would think about like dinner with a kavachayim or not pashut, a regular son. Sheyafa koichay. Let's just do Akdama for a second. He said that Roy Kibamuchsuk. I'm sure that hopefully we'll remember what this is. Roy meaning a Bachar does not get Roy Kibamuchsuk. The Bachar only gets double from what we call liquid assets. Right? He doesn't get from accounts receivable and stuff like that. But a regular son does. Meaning sons that are inheriting, if their father has accounts receivables that are going to be coming in a couple of months, so then they get that Yerusha. But a Bachar obviously will get the basic of that Yerusha too. His double portion will not come out from that. Right? So there's a kal and a chumrah. The pashut has a kula, and the bachar has a chumrah. So the Gemara is saying sheyafa like shouldn't be a kavachayim or not pashut, a regular son sheyafa koichay shenaitul b'roy kibamuchzak. He has power because he gets accounts receivable, which is roy, stuff that's fitting. Kibamuchzak as if he has it. And this, even though he has this power to collect, to inherit from any type of income, still the Torah says that the father has the right to give away his Yerusha as long as it's going to a sibling. A Bachar whose koyach is weak, he does not get Roy Kivimosuk. Like Kol Shekain, isn't it a Kavachayim? That the father should be able to give away the Bachar's portion. That's why the Torah is coming to tell us that you're not allowed to. Meaning, we would have thought from a Kavachayim, you should be able to give away the Bachar's portion just like you give away a regular son's portion. So the Chiddush of La Yuchalavaka is coming to tell you that you can't. So that's why we need both psukim. And then this Gemara says, well, why don't we say the opposite? The Yoimar La Yuchalavaka. Why don't you say the pasuk of La Yuchalavaka? And you're not allowed to take the Bachar and give it to somebody else. And what is the pasuk saying on the day that you give inheritance to your children? Because you would think about like Dinu, the opposite way. Whose koyach is weak. That he doesn't take Roy Kibbutz Muksuk. Amra Torah lo yuchalavaka, and the Torah says no. He's very weak. He can only take what's liquid. Right? Still, the Torah says he is not allowed to. The father is not allowed to give away his portion. So Amra Torah lo yuchalavaka. So the Torah says he can't give it away. So Pashut sheyafa koychay. A Pashut whose koyach is strong should not that he takes the Roy Kivamosik, like Kol Shekain is in a Kavachayim. The Talmud Laimar, so we're coming to teach us on a day that he's coming to inherit his kids, not to give an inheritance to his kids. So the Torah is giving you permission to give to whoever you want. Okay, so that's basically. Either way you want to look at it, we need both psukim, because otherwise, from Kavachayim, we would have said otherwise. Okay, now here's if this was a little confusing, this next part becomes very interesting, having nothing to do with whether we understood the back and forth here. Amar Rav Zrika, Amar Rav Ami, Amar Rav Chanina, Amar Rebbe, Allah Rav Yochanan ben Broika. Again, continuing to saying that Allah is like Rav Yochanan ben Broika. It didn't say the halacha is like him. It said that he actually is like him.
Actually, what?
Yeah. Oh, so what does this mean? Again, the first lashon is halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika. The second lashon is that Torah, he actually from Paskin, he actually Paskin like him. Right? So what does this mean? But my kamifli, what's this machlokes? What's the difference here? So marsavar halacha adifa. One holds the word halacha is better. Marsav or Meiser Rav. Meiser Rav is better. Meaning, first Bandomer says halacha is stronger. Like when he says the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Bebroika, take it to the bank that the halacha is like him. The other shita says no. If he actually, meaning it's one thing if in Beis Medrash he said the halacha is like him. That's one thing. But if he actually paskined it, that's another thing. Right?
This is a play on words.
What do you mean?
The word Rav. Usually it would say
what?
Marsava halacha adifa, or Marsava Meiser Rav adifa. Here it just leaves it after Rav. Is this from Rav being great? The other one holds Rav, Maisa is greater? He seems to have skipped a word here.
I don't know. Saying. Okay, I don't know. Saying it's Maisa.
It should be Meiser Rav adifa.
Yeah, okay. He's saying it just left out the word adifa.
Yes. Is he relying on the word Rav?
Maisa is Rav. Are you saying it's either Maisa is greater? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or should say the word adifa. Okay, either way. All right, I hear what you're saying. But the point is that the Yisaitis Dika Machlekes and Psak, and it comes up. It does come up with Rabbanim. It's one thing if he says it in a shir. It's another thing when he actually passes in the Lamaisa. There are so many things that Ramosha, there are not so many, but there are quite a few in the Mishnah Brura where they say that the Mishnah Brura wrote it in the Mishnah Brura, but he himself did differently. Ramosha writes things in the Chuvas and he did things differently, and he paskin differently. So, which one is more reliable to take it to the bank? I mean, if you go over to a Rav, and you see this all the time, I mean, I see it from speaking to Rabbanim. You talk to them, and you're not talking a practical halacha. Sometimes, they'll tell you a psak, and then, but when it comes down to it, they'll say, oh, no, lemaisa, I have to go this way, I have to go that way. Meaning there's a difference between whether they're actually paskening it lemaisa in front of them, or it's just a theoretical shiloh. So that's exactly what they're having the machlokes about here. Right? Okay, so let's see weiter. Second line up in the wide lines. Tana Rabbana. Ain't lameid and halacha. Let me be lomud, but let me be meisu. You cannot learn halacha, not from just learning, meaning learning a besmerish, but let me be meisa, or from actions. Actually, yomrulai halacha lemaisa. Until the Rav, when you ask him the shaila. And the people that are trying to get Shemush know to ask this. When you ask Rav Shaila, and it's not practical, you say, okay, halacha l'maisa, you say, are you paskening this halacha l'maisa, or are you just saying this is the way it should be? Right? So
a person can't say, this is what I saw by my Rebbe, so I'm paskening like that?
That's what this Gemara is saying.
Gershon has a big pet peeve about that.
Meiser Rav? It's no such thing as Meiser Rav?
What?
Meiser Rav? I'm saying this is what my Rebbe did.
This is exactly what the machlokes is. Meiser Rav, whether you can pass on like that. Well, let's see the next line too, because it'll maybe get clear. So Shaul on the first line, Shaul v'amruloi halacha l'maisa. Right, so they asked him and he said back, halacha l'maisa, yelich v'yasa maisa. Go do the maisa, u'bavat shelo yidamet. So now here's where he said this is the caveat to this whole thing. Right? It's as long as you're not medama, you can't compare it to anything. Meaning, it has to be the exact scenario. If it's not the exact scenario, then you cannot rely on a meiser rav. That's what he's saying. Right? I'll tell you what happened today. So by this Sheva Brachas, my niece Baruch Hashem, and a lot of big rabbis there. So he's one of the Rosh Yeshivas in Chaim. He stood up for Kiddush today. Shabbos day, a Litvak. He stood up for Kiddush. So I turned to his son. I said, "Your father stands for Kiddush Shabbos day?" And he said, "No, this is a particular situation." Now, why did he? I think the reason why he stood up is because there was a lot of women that he was being motzi, and there were no chairs. And the thing is that if somebody sitting and saying kiddush, people standing are not yotza, at least not lechatchila. So I'm assuming he decided to stand, and like this, it wouldn't be a problem. I have no idea. I didn't have the next discussion. But if it would be Ma'aser Rav, and I'd see, oh, he stands up for kiddush Shabbos day, which would be sheker. It would be a total farce, right?
So when
So
when you sat to learn psak by Rav Hurfanis, right? So that's Ma'aser Rav. So how does that work?
No, you'd have to ask him, Lamaisa, would you be makel or not? In the Lamaisa, you're going to be makel.
Yeah, but it's not going to be. Might not be the same case.
It might not be. But if he says the parish in that case, good. But if not, then not. Meaning, well, let's see the next line. So let's see the next line of the Gemara. So right now the Gemara is saying you're not allowed to compare anything. Ma'aser Rav has to be exact. So then Gemara, second wide line, the Gemara says, what do you mean as long as you don't compare? The whole Torah is about comparison. That's exactly what Shemush and Psak is when do you compare one case to another case? And how do you compare it? Isn't that that's the whole point? How do you not use Ma'aser Rav to compare cases? So Rav Ashi clarifies it. Amar Rav Ashi, Hachi Kama. This is what we say. You could compare other things in the Torah. You just can't compare treifus. Tanya, and by the way, just a plug, we started Chulin in the morning Tabura, in case anybody's around. Starts at around 10 to 9 a.m. 10 meaning 8 a.m. But anyways, so by treifus, you can't compare. The Tanya ain't oimra betreifus zu daimel.
We lost him, right? That sounds to me. Okay, I'm texting. Oh, he left. Okay, he knows. No, he knows.
Mhm.
Assuming.
Yeah, you were knocked off.
Yeah, I hit a bad spot on the 17th. Okay, I don't know where I left off exactly. I think I know where I left off. So again, if you're doing Ma'aser Rav, if you learn the sugyas, then you're allowed to compare the cases. But if you're not learning the sugyas, then you really have to be on the up and up in order to know exactly when to compare something to a case and when not to. Right? Okay. So we are four lines.
Not comparing faces seems to be lavdafka.
What do you
It's
mean?
two completely different things. The covet to the Raya. It's like saying you can't compare, I don't know, Chalos Stam to Stam Yenam. Well, duh.
Well, you have to know how to compare. That's all. You have to know how to compare the cases. I don't know what different examples you want to use, but
No, but you can't compare a stirka and a lung to a hole in the covet. They're not comparable. They're two different things.
correct. So obviously it's not a comparison.
So what's the Gemara saying? So you can't. In other words, you can compare anything. It has to make sense.
Right. And a chanami, that's what you get shemesh from to learn how and when to compare. I have no shemesh and trevis whatsoever. Right? I get pictures all the time of chickens. All the time I get pictures of chickens. So I have a little bit of shemesh in it, not from Rabbanim. Right? I have from Franklin. Right? And some of the picture books. So sometimes you say, oh, a red spot here. Okay, so Mistama, red spot over here was good. So Mistama means over a red spot over there is also good. Right? But no. Right? That's totally.
That's a
But
great
then
example.
you have all the stories that the lady didn't have any food, that's not. So it means that there's not, based on all these mices of different tzaddikim and different poskim, there's not one case that's the same as another case. in anything. No cases are the same because you have to know who asked you the shaila, right? So then what's the shimush? So no case is the same. There's not one case. You can't be medamit something to another case.
Right. So no, I guess it would depend. Well, you hope that the shimush comes and the Rav will tell you. Right, the Rav will tell you, I'm the reason why I was makel because it was a shasatchak in this situation.
That's what I asked you at the beginning. Every single time you stop by a Rufinus, you ask, or not saying you, but anybody who sits Shemush, every single shaila that comes in, that they ask him, is this why you're passing like this? No. Rav David Cohen sits in the mountains, and
Not all of them need. Some of them are just basic things.
Well, what's a basic thing?
You made a good point, Aaron.
Maybe this guy lost 4 jobs so far because he doesn't shave chalamite, and he's lost 4 jobs. And his wife is going to throw him out of the house.
Well, that's the problem with asking anonymous rabbis, Rabbi. That's a different conversation that we're having, right? That's, you stam call a halacha hotline or you text a rabbi, like you don't know if you're mahol no more. Yes, that's a big problem.
You should also be cut down the kavchus if someone is doing something that they have a valid reason for it.
No, that's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but Byron's point is a great point. You can only start being madama once you know if it's halakha l'maisa chumra kula what it is. Then you can start with the dimyonis. But before that, you can't do anything.
It's true. It's true. You have to know. You have to know when it was. That's what you have. You have with the Talmid Ramosha all the time. One Talmud Ramosha says this, another Talmud says this. That Talmud didn't chap. The Ramosha said it in a Shas Atchak situation and whatever. Right? That's why
your father used to always say.
Right,
Your father used to always say, "Godless shimush chatoyer yosem eludai," because you got to have shimish. You don't have shimish, then all that learning you're gonna you're not. You need shimish, otherwise you're not going to recognize one difference from another difference.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And he also said that anything he told Rav Cohen told my father that anything b'shem Reb Moshe is not admissible in a court of law.
What does that mean?
What?
What does that mean?
Meaning you cannot paskin on anything that a Talmud of Ramosha or anybody from Ramosha is saying that he heard it from Ramosha.
Rav Nata Greenblatt couldn't say, I heard it from Moshe and Paskin. He had to paskin from himself.
What?
Rav Nata
What do you say?
Rav Nata Greenblatt couldn't say that I saw
for himself, yes. For himself, yes. But I'm just telling you, this is what I'm not saying the Rav Moshe Talmidim hold of this. I'm just saying what Rav Cohen told my father. Because the Talmidim are sitting around, and some of them, I think this is what it is. They, you're sitting around. You have a Rabbi Yashiv too, and they didn't chop what he meant. I think that's really they just didn't chop the situation or didn't chop what he meant. But what's interesting is that sometimes we paskin differently than Rav Moshe writes in the Chuvas. Right? Rav Moshe writes, for an example, a woman checks herself before Shkia to get the shal every night. Tomorrow, it's in the Yonah de Yoma. Tomorrow, this will be
changing the clock.
Tomorrow, all of a sudden, the Shkia is at 4:45, and a woman's like, "What? Whoa!" And the man she says to the husband, "Why don't you remind us? 4:45 is the middle of the football game. What are you talking about?" Just to remember, right? Right. So, yeah, I'm telling you, this is tomorrow. It's every day, but this is especially tomorrow. And so, Rav Moshe writes in the tshuva for whatever the cheshbon is, up till 9 minutes after shkia, you could be mekel. If she checked herself to 9 minutes after the shkia, you could be mekel. They say in person, Rav Moshe was never mekel. He held shkia, and that's it. You miss shkia, you wait another day.
What? But in the tshuva, he wrote 9 minutes after.
The tshuva, he writes 9 minutes.
Shabbos, he did that also the same.
I never heard of anybody using it for Shabbos.
He never watched the football game.
I never heard anybody using it for Shabbos.
No?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I heard. Okay, maybe.
I once heard a Rav say it. I don't know.
He used to
Practically,
he used to play for the Rotted Raiders soccer. Rachman. When he was 8 years old, he was a center forward for them.
You never heard of a guy stuck on the road? He has till 9 minutes after Shkia to go if he's stuck out
He
of.
gets those phone calls every week.
every week.
Come to the
multiple
DAF on
times.
Friday and stay to the end. You'll see the phone calls.
One time in my life happened to have been first day Sukkot. Because it was Yom Tif, I told the guy he could drive a few minutes after the Shkia. They told him his father was dying. He had to run to the hospital, and he was running mamish a few minutes before the Shkia. But after the Shkia, so because it was Yom Tif, the whole thing's at the Rabbanon, and Ben Hashmash is the Rabbanon. It's whatever. I was Makel. I never asked any of my rabbis if they agreed with me yet. It's in the Shemesh part of that is coming, Bez Hashem. I hope they'll agree with me. Otherwise, we're gonna Yom Kippur Katan. I'll be doing next month. I'm not trying to make a life there, but it could be he was even mutter to drive. It could be he was even mutter to drive. Forget regular Shabbos, not even okay. Whatever. The point is that Ramesha. So then, do you go with what it says in the Sefer, or do you say what it goes like? I'll tell you what it was in the Geya, the Mishnah Brura about what were you allowed to take haircuts this Friday? This comes up in the next Gemara too. You're allowed to take haircuts this Friday because it's Rosh Chodesh. Many people are makbid. So the Mishnah Brura writes in that you should be makbid. The only problem is that he writes when Rosh Chodesh Iyar falls out on Shabbos, Iyar meaning during Sfira. He says when Rosh Chodesh Iyar falls out on Shabbos, he says that it's then you could take a haircut. Now the only time Rosh Chodesh Iyar could fall out on Shabbos is when it's on Friday and Shabbos, which means that he was basically telling you that you're allowed to take a haircut on Friday when it's Rosh Chodesh and when the Friday is a Rosh Chodesh. So it's a steer in Mishnah Brura. So the question is, what's going on with that? That's one example. Another example is the Mishnah Brura writes that on fruit soup, you should make a bracha for dessert. You should make a bracha on fruit soup. And his son-in-law, Remendel Zaks, said he changed his mind. After he wrote the Mishnah Brura, he changed his mind. Right? So some people say, who cares? He wrote it in the Mishnah Brura. That's the psak we go with. So even though...
Maybe he met some Hungarians who serve it as the main course.
It could be that taka. It could taka be, right? So whatever it is, these things all come up. Exactly what. So that's what it says. Like, did he paskin that way, or he just wrote it that way? And in the Lamaisa, it's different. Listen, that's where it comes up. The Shemesh is very important. That's bottom line. It's a hard sugi. It's a hard sugi to swallow, but it's important. Anyway, let's see. When you say that this is a halacha, nevid ma'isa, are we supposed to do it? Which just sounds like such an interesting thing. He said to them in yeshiva, the halacha is like this. You say, okay, so does that mean we should pass it now? I'm saying if a guy asked me that, I was saying, no, I was telling it to you because I'm not trying to entertain you, right? But what did he mean? So
no, but it is Megaya. When you say this is the halacha in Shir, we should ask: is that how to paskin, or is that a generalization? This is the halacha,
right? So that's exactly what they're saying. So he's saying when you say halacha, so should we do it? So Amar said, "Lo tavidu, I don't do it." Adamina halacha lemaisa. No, I have to tell you it's halacha. It's but a halacha lemaisa. I'm saying it's very hard to. What do you mean? Is it the halacha? Is not the halacha? Right. Anyways, that's okay. But that's this is the way you see. You also have sometimes in halacha where it says halacha ve'ein moirin kain. You ever heard that rule? We've come across that. It's the halacha, but we don't. You don't paskin it. Don't paskin it like that. Yeah. Fine. Okay, so let's see. Amalu Rapapa, Rapala Rapapa. 5 lines up in the bottom. Amalu Rapala Rapapa, Rav Huna, Parade, Rav Yeshua. According to Rav Yeshua, Ki Asi Piska the Dina the Dini the Dina Kamaychu. He said, when a psak din of mine comes in front of you, basically what he's telling them is, you might, I write chuvas. The Rav writes chuvas. He says, when you get a chuva from me, and you look at the chuva and you say, oh, I have a strong kash on this. Don't tear up the chuva. Come to me and talk to me about it. If I have a good reason why I'm passing that way, I'm going to tell you. And if I don't have a good reason, then I'll change my mind. Meaning, don't tear up my tshuva. It's sort of like telling the kanoim, don't, you have a kanois. Don't just go putting the ads in the paper against the rabbi. Go discuss it with him first and see. That's what he's telling you. La'achar misa. But what about la'achar misa? So la'achar misa, you can't go back and discuss it with him. La'achar misa, loy mikra takrinu. Don't tear it up. Umigmar nami loy timirin. See, he was being very honest. He's saying, don't rip it up, but don't learn from it either. Right? He's saying both. Don't tear it up. I would have, because if I would be alive, I'd be able to tell the reason. On Tamar Aleph now, Migmar Nami, but don't learn anything from it. Because a dayan can only paskin in what his eyes see. Right? It's another major yisaid in halacha. A dayan can only paskin what he sees in front of him. You can't start telling him to make such money. It's like David, like you're saying. You ask the rabbi, or using Rabbaran's mashal. You call a rabbi and said, should I shave chalamoyed? He doesn't know that 4 times you lost your job for not shaving. Right? So what do you want him to do? He could only paskin it the way he sees. Then a kanoi calls him up and says, why weren't you matter it for him? He said, well, what am I supposed to do? I could only paskin it the way I see it. Right? So Mamela says, since you're seeing, and let's go back to this case for a minute, since you're seeing a psak from me that seems to be incorrect, and it's not fitting in with your interpretation of what the halach should be, so don't paskin like me. He's saying, so don't slug me up, but don't paskin like me either.
So
right?
somebody paskin that the Erev is no good in Flatbush. Right? So
Right.
the person is a person then allowed to say, well, Moshe held that that's no good, but I see it differently.
And maybe, because things could change. Or maybe he slugs up Ramosha. Ramosha is no longer here. So, that's what the Gemara is saying. But he's telling him don't do away with me, but you should also
not listen to me.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you this whole rule of we're done now. So if anybody's not interested in hearing this, you could log off. We'll say it to them. But I tell you, I'm grappling with this a lot. It's with Nita again. The main practical situation when dying that you have to pass in the way you see it is the bottom line is we get a bedika cloth. Like tonight, I had one that was a week old. Right now, these, like everything else, colors change. Right, colors change over a week. I'm telling you that colors change even over a couple of hours. Right, I'm telling you that the stuff that we're making on bedika cloths that was red when it came out. There's no question that it was red when it came out. By the time we get to it, it's not red. What are you supposed to do? So that part is not a new shaila. This is not a new shaila. This is already the Bach discussing the ta. I mean, all the Gedolei Pais can discuss it. They say, we can only pass it the way it comes in front of us. Here's the problem that I'm grappling with, because I'm telling you, I looked at things, I said, this was Vadai red, and I can't say not. The problem is the phone. I shouldn't even record this, but Shine, we'll put it on anyways.
Take it out. Shut it down.
No, it's fine. It could be recorded.
You should be
I don't
stopping
care.
the recording anyway.
No, that's true. But no, I think it's an interesting thing to hear, because so now a lot of times it's before Shkia.
Should I stop the recording? Or
Yes.
No, don't stop. No, don't
yes,
stop.
Naftali,
He
stop.
said no.
Zev, he's not arguing with his Rebbe. Hello, relax.
It's Kedai. It's meaning. So I have a woman 5 minutes before Shkia. They say, I don't know if it's good, no good. I don't want to lose another day. Should I repeat it? Send a picture. No. She sends the picture. To me, it looks red. I get it back. I get it. So I say, okay, drop it, or obviously drop it off because we're not passing from the picture. And she drops it off, looks fine. What do I do now?
It's only what's in front of you.
But the picture, so the phone, we don't care. We're not, the phone distorts. No question, the phone distorts. However, the phone picks up reds much easier and much better. So when it's a slam dunk and it doesn't look red, it's no problem. We're not going to pass it like the camera. But there are times when you look at the stain and you look at it and you look at it, and I show it to other up on him, and they say, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if it's red. I don't know what to pass it. So then I say, or they say, yeah, I'm leaning that it's towards okay, that it's good. I say, okay, so now let me give you a picture from last night, a live picture. And I show it to them and they say, forget it, I'm not being makel.
You can't be asking for the picture.
Right. But the bottom line is when you're masupik on the color, right?
Yeah, but the suffix now is in front of you. The suffix on the phone from yesterday is not a suffix.
It's a what do you mean? It looks, meaning you're not sure if this thing was red or not. You know that the colors change for the better over hours, and on the camera it looks no good.
But you said you don't paskin from the camera.
You don't paskin from that picture.
You don't, but you don't know. Yeah, you don't paskin 100%. But here we don't know which way to paskin. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying it's like a breathalyzer. If you push it off, you won't get a ticket for being drunk, or if you push it off, you'll be making.
Jesse, you get a ticket anyway. Don't worry about it. you couldn't pass a breathalyzer test if it was 9 days after the cop stopped you. Okay.
Yeah. So the question is, do we lean and say, oh, since we're not sure right now, and we have this thing when it was fresher, that seems to be red, do we use that sort of like to, I don't want to use a Yom Narayim Moshe, but to tilt the scales? That's what I'm grappling with.
How could you tilt the scale with something that you can't paskin from?
Because 95% of the time, if not more, the phone is correct.
So could you paskin?
What doesn't matter if it's correct?
If that's the case, why can't you paskin from the phone?
I spoke to Rav Harfinis about passing the phone. He said you have to test it, and if it has 100% accuracy, meaning every time it gets the exact same sock, he says, and you'd be able to. The problem is that it doesn't. But what I'm saying is that we know, and everybody, the Bach discusses it, the Taz discusses it, meaning I could just tell you right now, if we would make a new rule, maybe instead of lace shaitels, we should do this. Tell the women, you have to come to the Rav's house, go into the bathroom, do a badika, and show it to the Rav right away. I'm telling you, lots of women would be nidas. There's no question. Now, obviously, we can't do this. And if you find the Rav doing this, run the other way. Run far and fast, right? But I'm just saying in the Mitzias as part of the conversation, again, we're not like the Torah L'Malachei Yashar.
Wait a minute. The times where Rav David Cohen will say, don't look at it. A lady should wipe her, don't look at it.
Yeah, everybody says don't look at it. Yes, that's true. But that's not hiding. There you have no reason to believe there's anything there.
Why aren't you looking? You're not looking.
Should you look? I don't have any reason to. No, this is the time when you have to look. You have to check yourself to look. Right? Whatever it is, I'm just throwing it out there that this is one of the masha'in of the main thing of masha'in of rois is with badika cloths, and I'm telling you that when they're fresh, they're way worse, and we'd be much more machmer. And my only shaila is that when it's really a suffix, would we use the phone to say that, oh, the picture was taken fresh, and that's why the phone is picking it up as red? I had it last week. I showed it to a Rav. He's looking, he says, what's your problem with this? I said, okay, let me show you the picture. He looks at the picture, says, okay, I'm out. So he said, I showed it to a different Rav without the camera, and the Rav said it's fine. I said, okay, that's fine. But the problem is that it takes me out of the game because I'm not looking at it with a open mind anymore. That's the concern for me. I'm trying to help people out that I can give them instant answers. Say, it's going to be okay. Show it, but it's going to be okay. And then because of that, I have to go chasing down rabbis to help me out. Whatever. That's all part of it.
Okay.
Anyways. So that's an interesting thing. Okay, we'll stop over there because I'm going to lose service anyways in a minute. Okay, Tilim Gimel.